archaeological site and one of the largest and most important cities of the classic era of Mesoamerica. A part of the classic Veracruz culture, El Tajin flourished from 600 to 1200 CE, and during this time numerous temples, palaces, ball courts, and pyramids were built. From the time the city fell in 1230 to near the end of the 18th century, no European seems to have known of its existence, until the government inspector chanced upon the Pyramid of the Niches in 1785. Location: the site is located in the highlands of the municipality of Papantla in modern-day Veracruz, not far from the city of Puerto, which lies northwest of the port and city of Veracruz. The city is set in the low rolling mountains that lead from the Sierra Madre Oriental to the Gulf Coast near the Tecolootla River. In ancient times, this city was located in the northeast corner of what is called Mesoamerica, and controlled an area from between the Cazones and Tecolootla Rivers to the modern state of Puebla. The main city is defined by two streams which merge to form the Tlahuanaco, a tributary of the Tecolootla River. These two streams provided the population's potable water. Most of the buildings are at the southern end, where the land is relatively flat and the two streams converge. The site extends to the northwest, where terraces were constructed to place more buildings, mostly for the city's elite. However, the city also had communities located on the hills east and west of the main city, with mostly lower-class dwellings. Total site extends for 1,056 hectares, 4.08 square miles. Chronology studies at Tajin and nearby sites show that the area has been occupied at least since 5600 BC, and showed how nomadic hunters and gatherers eventually became sedentary farmers, building more complex societies prior to the rise of the city of El Tajin. The pace of this societal progression became more rapid with the rise of the neighboring Olmec civilization around 1150 BC. Although the Olmecs were never here in great numbers, it is unclear who built the city. Some argued in favor of the Teutonics and the Zarpanica. However, there is a significant amount of evidence that the area was populated by the Tuoltec at the time the settlement was founded. In the 1st century CE, monumental construction started soon after, and by 600 CE, El Tajin was a city. The rapid rise of Tajin was due to its strategic position along the old Mesoamerican trade routes. It controlled the flow of commodities, both exports such as vanilla and imports from other locations in what is now Mexico and Central America. From the early centuries, objects from the Tehuacan are abundant. From 600 to 1200 CE, El Tajin was a prosperous city that eventually controlled much of what is now modern Veracruz state. The city-state was highly centralized, with the city itself having more than 50 ethnicities living there. Most of the population lived in the hills surrounding the main city, and the city obtained most of its foodstuffs from the Tecolootla, Nutla and Cazones areas. These fields not only produced staples such as corn and beans, but luxury items such as cacao. One of the panels at the Pyramid of the Niches shows a ceremony being held at a cacao tree. The religion was based on the movements of the planets, the stars and the sun and moon, with the Mesoamerican ball game and pulque having extremely important parts. This led to the building of many pyramids with temples and 17 ball courts, more than any other Mesoamerican site. The city began to have extensive influence starting around this time, which can be best seen at the neighboring site of Yohualacan, whose buildings show the kinds of niches that define El Tajin. Evidence of the city's influence can be seen along the Veracruz Gulf Coast to the Maya region and into the high plateau of central Mexico. At the end of the Classic period, El Tajin survived the widespread social collapse, migrations and instructions that forced the abandonment of many population centers at the end of this period. El Tajin reached its peak after the fall of the Teotihuacan, and conserved many cultural traits inherited from that civilization. It reached its apogee in the AP Classic 900 to 1100 CE before suffering destruction and the encroachment of the jungle. El Tajin prospered until the early years of the 13th century, when it was destroyed by fire, presumably started by an invading force believed to be the Shish Incas. The Teutonics established the nearby settlement of Papantla after the fall of El Tajin. El Tajin was left to the jungle and remained covered and silent for over 500 years. While the city had been completely covered by jungle from its demise until the 19th century, it is unlikely that knowledge of the place was completely lost to the native peoples. Archaeological evidence shows that a village existed here at the time the Spanish arrived, and the area has always been considered sacred by the Teutonics. However, there are no records by any Europeans about the place prior to the 19th century. The Pyramid of the Niches. This pyramid has a number of names including El Tajin, Pyramid of Papantla, Pyramid of the Seven Stories and the Temple of the Niches. It has become the focus of the site because of its unusual design and good state of preservation. It was prominent in ancient times as well. A large quantity of sculpture was recovered from this pyramid. The building is mostly constructed of carefully cut and crafted flagstones, the largest of which is estimated to be about 8 metric tons in weight. The stones, especially around the niches, are fitted together as to need a minimum amount of lime and earth mortar. The structure originally is covered in stucco which served as the base for paint. The pyramid has 7 stories. Each of these consists of a sloping base wall called a talud and a vertical wall called a tableau, which was fairly common in Mesoamerica. What is unusual about this construction and others in the city are the addition of decorative niches with the top capped by what José García Paint called a flying cornice, the triangular overhang. The stones are arranged in controlled lines and delicate proportions. Originally the structure was painted a dark red with the niches in black intended to deepen the shadows of the recessed niches. Niches are also found underneath the stairway.